Good afternoon, sir. Time is up, sir.
Good
So,
afternoon,
shall we
sir.
start?
Yeah, we can.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. P. Paramanandam, Coordinator at FDP on Organizational Behavior. At the outset, I'd like to thank AICTE Training and Learning Academy for sponsoring this FDP. I thank our management for the opportunity they have given to me to coordinate this program. I thank our principal, Dr. S. Nirmala, Director, Dr. P. Sadashivam, Chief Mentor, Professor S. Balasubramanian, and my faculty colleagues for their unstinted support. I thank all the participants for your interest in organizational behavior. Well, it's really interesting to note that participants have come from different disciplines, including management, engineering, English literature, physics, and so on. Each one of us is a student of behavior. You have been reading people all your life. You watch what others do and try to explain to yourself why they engage in such behaviors. You try to predict what they will do under different conditions. Common sense approach to understand others may lead to inaccurate predictions. Behavior is generally predictable. A systematic study of behavior like organizational behavior is a means to make relatively accurate predictions. If we are able to predict behavior, then we can manage behavior better. I hope this FDP will provide you insights into human behavior. Dear participants, there are three important elements in this FDP with regard to participants. One is you should have 80% attendance to get your certificate. 80% attendance is mandatory. Second one, you have to score 60% marks in the test. Test will be conducted at the end of this program. So you have to score 60% marks. And third one, you have to give feedback in the Atal portal. That is very essential. So only after you fulfill these three conditions, you will be able to download your certificate after one working day. That is, you give feedback in the Atal portal after the program. That is the fifth day. Then after one working day, you will be able to download your certificate from the portal. So three essential conditions. I think shall we go into the session? Okay, I think it's right time. Already I sent the schedule. So we follow the schedule. Each session will be 1 hour 30 minutes as per the guidelines issued by Atal. We strictly follow that schedule. There will be 14 technical sessions and there will be one validation, test and validation session in addition to 14 technical sessions. Shall we get into OB? So actually this is session 2 because already inauguration is over. Please mute your audio. Manish. Participants, please mute your audio. So in this, please mute your audio. So in this session, we learn about organization, management, then what is organizational behavior, then the disciplines contributing to OB, what are the foundations of OB, scope of OB, challenges and opportunities for OB. What is an organization?
Sir, if you permit, can I ask a question? If you don't mind?
Yes, yes, sir.
How will the attendance be monitored in this process?
Attendance.
What will be the way? Yes, sir.
Automatically it will be recorded, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I got it.
Attendance will be
Thank you.
automatically recorded by our technical team. So what is an organization? Deliberate arrangement of people to accomplish some specific purpose. So there are three essential elements. There is a group of people. There is a structure. Structure means there is a pattern of formal relationships within that group. Then they have a purpose. These are the three essential elements to make up an entity into an organization. Different people define organizations differently. Very interesting. If you learn more number of definitions, you can understand organizations better. Initially, people thought organizations are collectivities. So one Richard Scott, he defined organization like this: organizations are collectivities for the pursuit of relatively specific objectives on a more or less continuous basis. Groups of people who work interdependently towards some purpose. That's defined like that. Probably those who come from management discipline may know about Chester I. Barnard. According to Chester Barnard, organizations are systems. A system of consciously coordinated activities of two or more people. Chester I. Barnard. I like one particular definition by Gary Johns. Organizations are social inventions for accomplishing goals through group efforts. So, you know what is an organization? Three essential elements. There is a group of people. There is a structure. They have a purpose. Organizations have to be managed. So what is management? Usually, if you ask the students, probably they will come up with the simplest possible definition: art of getting things done through people. Actually, Mary Parker Follett defined like that. Kuhn-Zwiebrecht, this is a famous definition: process of designing and maintaining an environment in which individuals working together in groups efficiently accomplish selected aims. So, in my opinion, management is the process of working with and through people to achieve organizational objectives in a changing environment by the efficient utilization of resources. So you have to work with people. You have to work through people. And the next question, obviously, what is essentially needed to work with people? We need interpersonal skills. So interpersonal skills are very important. How to develop interpersonal skills? Probably subjects like OB will help you to sharpen your interpersonal skills. And obviously the next question, what is organizational behavior? Already all of us know behavior within organizations. We study behavior within organizations. So different people define OB in different ways. Study and application of knowledge about how people as individuals and as groups act within organizations. Why I selected this particular definition. Why Newstorm has given like this as individuals and as groups? There is a reason. For example, in my class, there was a student called Niveta. One fine morning, when I was in the faculty cabin, I met Niveta and I asked her, Niveta, can we conduct a test in OB this month, this week? She said, yes, sir, we are ready. You can conduct. So I was very happy on that day. I went to the class after lunch. I met students in the class. I asked them, so this week you have to write a test in organizational behavior. Immediately, students shouted. Niveta was the first one to shout, no. Now my question to the participants is this. Why Niveta, when I asked her before lunch in the faculty cabin, she said yes. But later in the class, when I asked, shall we conduct a test, she was the first one to shout no. Any idea why? Can I get some answers?
Group influence.
Okay. So before lunch, when I asked Niveta, she reacted as an individual. As an individual, Niveta reacted and said, yes, we can conduct a test. But in the group, she reacted as a member of the group. So what do we infer? There are differences between individual behavior and group behavior. Obviously, as you said, there will be group influences. So that is why this particular definition. I think second definition, in its own way, it is study and application of knowledge about human behavior within organizations as it relates to other system elements such as structure, technology, external social system. Keith Davis, probably some of you might have seen his book, Human Behavior at Work by Keith Davis. And other famous definitions have come from Stephen P. Robbins. Probably those who are handling classes for the PG students, probably you may prescribe Robbins. Lutyens has given a very interesting definition. OB is concerned with understanding, prediction, and management of human behavior within organizations. Actually, in 1995, he defined it like that. Prior to 1995, he defined it as understanding, prediction, and control of human behavior within organizations. Because in 1995, he realized that control is just a part and parcel of management. Understanding, prediction, and management of human behavior within organizations. I think McShane, I like McShane's definition. McShane is known for his simple and lucid definitions. A study of what people think, feel, and do in and around organizations. Excellent definition by McShane. So now we know what is organizational behavior. Probably we should know the nature of OB. Actually, I have taken this from a book titled Organizational Behavior and Performance by Sloggy Wallace, two famous authors on OB. They start with this characteristic. OB is known for its interdisciplinary foundation. There are a number of concepts in organizational behavior. These concepts have been taken from a number of disciplines. What are all the disciplines? We'll take up later. For example, psychology, sociology, anthropology. Though concepts were taken from a number of disciplines, most of the concepts have come from psychology, sociology, and anthropology. So basically, OB is a behavioral science. So that is why Sloggy Wallace have written like this: behavioral science foundation, scientific method foundation. So in OB, Essentially what we do, we develop and test generalizations about human behavior in organizations. For developing and testing human behavior, we make use of number of scientific methods like field studies, laboratory study, meta-analysis, surveys, case study, etc. And there are three levels of analysis. We analyze behavior at the individual level. For example, how an individual's personality, perception, attitudes, values, learning, etc. affect his behavior. Then we analyze behavior at the group level, communication, conflict, leadership, power, politics, how these influence behavior. Then at the organization level, how structure, culture affect behavior. So there are three levels of analysis. OB is known for its contingency orientation. That is, OB provides recommendations based on situational factors. We strongly believe that no single set of principles can be applied universally. Probably you are thorough with Henry Fayol's 14 principles, and Henry Fayol believed that these 14 principles can be applied universally. But unfortunately, it's not like that. No single set of principles can be applied universally. There is no one best way of managing people. There is contingency orientation. So OB provides recommendations based on situational factors. Then last one, there is always a concern for application. Why do we study OB? Our purpose is to improve organizational effectiveness. I think that is why Robbins, if you go back to Robbins' definition, OB as a field of study investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structure have on behavior within organizations for the purpose of applying such knowledge toward improving an organization's effectiveness. Probably you may have a doubt. How can we improve organizational effectiveness? For example, we may have to improve productivity. We may have to reduce absenteeism, have to reduce labor turnover. We have to improve the satisfaction level of the employees. So this is all about Nature of OB by Sloggy Wallace. Already we know OB is known for its interdisciplinary foundation. What are the various disciplines that contribute to OB? Usually in most of the books, they will write psychology, sociology, anthropology. But actually this is the full list, this is the complete list of disciplines that contributed to OB. Most of the concepts being taken from psychology. I think it's there in the slide. Sociology. Sometimes people they are not able to differentiate between psychology and sociology. Psychology in general focuses on individual behavior, scientific study of individual human behavior and mental processes. That is psychology. Sociology, on the other hand, is the science of collective behavior. That is the basic difference between psychology and sociology. Psychology is science of individual behavior. Sociology is a science of collective behavior. Then social psychology is a branch of psychology. Concepts being taken from social psychology, especially attitudes of communication, how to measure attitudes, changing attitudes. Industrial psychology is again a branch of psychology. Anthropology, anthropo in Greek means culture, how national culture affects behavior, how organizational culture affects human behavior within organizations. That is the contribution by anthropology. And political science deals with power and conflict. So these concepts are taken from political science. Economics, for example, labor market dynamics, taken from economics. Even concepts are drawn from engineering. For example, what flow, time study, motion study, what measurement. In medicine, stress. Employees frequently experience stress. I think today I am stressed. Employees may experience depression. Concepts taken from medicine. Semantics is a branch of linguistics which deals with meanings of words and sentences. In OB, we study communication process and we study barriers of communication within organizations, how to improve communication flow within organizations. So concepts taken from semantics also. So these are the various disciplines that contributed to OB. What are the foundations? That is, if you are specializing in OB, then probably these are important concepts. There are individual differences. So this is a basic statement. There are individuals differ. Unless we accept this, then there is no need for OB. There are differences. Then the whole person concept. When you employ a person, you employ the whole person and not his MBA or his BA. For example, his family life cannot be separated from this particular person. When he comes to your organization, he comes with the entire thing. So there is a whole, we should realize that whole person concept. And we should know behavior is caste behavior. So what? So we can motivate behavior. Then human dignity. We should respect people. If we are specializing in OB, then obviously we should respect people. Human dignity is a very important concept in OB. Organizations are social systems. Already we are familiar with, for example, our body is a biological system. A refrigerator is an electrical system. And we do have mechanical systems like that. An organization is a social system. An organization is composed of individuals and groups and the relationship among these entities. There may be formal system, social system, and informal social system. We should realize that. Formal groups, informal groups. Then there is mutuality of interest. Organizations need people, and people also need organizations. We should realize that. So these are the foundations of OB. Usually in the class, I used to ask one question. What do you mean by scope of a subject? So usually I don't get appropriate answer. In my opinion, scope of a subject refers to the areas it covers. So OB covers three major areas. Already under analysis, levels of analysis, I told you we analyze and understand behavior at three levels: individual, group, and organization. So there are three major areas. You take any OB book, you can find three sections. Probably there may be one more, one introduction section where the author describes all about OB. Then obviously there will be three sections, three major sections: individual behavior, group behavior, and organization system. So under individual behavior, we study concepts like personality, perception, attitudes, motivation, values, learning. How these variables affect an individual's behavior. Then at the group level, the group dynamics, communication, leadership, power and politics, conflicts, how these affect behavior of the group or members in a group. Then at the organization level, how organizational structure affects behavior, how organizational culture affects behavior, organizational change. Why should organizations change? Why? Then organizational development, change and development. So these are the variables that we study at the last level, at the organization level. The scope of OB, individual, group, and organization. Then you may have this doubt, why should we study OB? If we study OB, we can understand human behavior. Why should we understand? If we understand human behavior, we can predict human behavior. Why should I predict human behavior? If I'm able to predict human behavior, then probably I may be able to influence human behavior. So these are the three major benefits of studying organizational behavior. I think two authors, Arnold Fellman, they have written an excellent book on organizational behavior. In that book, they have written about basic issues in OB. What are the basic issues in organizational behavior? Issue number one, how do individuals affect organizations? Issue number two, how do organizations influence individuals? Excellent book. In case if you get an opportunity, you go through that book. Well, what are the challenges? Challenges and opportunities for OB. I think somebody is asking some questions. Any questions at this time? I think somebody asked something.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, can we call scope as a functionary part in organizational behavior? Can we relate that or not, sir?
No, I didn't get your question, sir. Can we relate? Yes, sir. Come again, sir, please.
Okay, sir. In the scope of OB, we have seen that different parameter. So, can we call scope as a functionary part in organization behavior? If we would like to add that function of OB, can we use that same parameter like we have discussed already in scope? Yeah, different parameters.
No, I think I'm not able to understand your question, sir. You have said
Sir,
something OB, one variable, okay. The another variable that you are talking about?
Sir, I would like to say that scope is equivalent to function or differ. That is a simple question.
Oh, right. Scope. Scope.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, actually, probably some people think about the literal meaning, right? Is there, sometimes we ask a question like this: is there any scope for that? Is there any scope? That means we are referring to the significance or the importance, I think. Right? Is there any scope? Is there any scope, importance, or significance? So probably some people, when they say scope of OB, then they refer to that, I think, the significance of OB, how OB is important. My point is that importance or that significance comes from the areas it covers. In OB, we try to understand individual behavior, we try to understand group behavior, then we try to understand how organizational structure and organizational culture affect behavior, why change is needed, and how to develop. Just because OB covers these areas, OB is an important subject. So that significance or the importance comes from the areas. So that is why some famous authors, when they say scope of a subject, when they refer to a scope of a subject, then they say scope of a subject refers to areas it covers. So that is why I have taken that. Scope of a subject refers to areas it covers. For example, if you take managerial economics, then scope of managerial economics includes what? It includes the areas it covers. That is why I follow that particular meaning, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, now people may have a doubt like this. Okay, I study OB. Later, I become a manager. How this knowledge in OB will help me? So I have answers like this. When you become a manager, definitely there will be challenges. You have to tackle these challenges. So in fact, these challenges are opportunities to use your knowledge in OB. So that is why authors write like this: challenges and opportunities for OB. There will be challenges. You have to tackle these challenges. For tackling these challenges, knowledge in OB will help you. So these are the opportunities. There are opportunities to use your knowledge in OB to tackle those challenges. Okay, let us go one by one. I think it will take some time to understand these challenges and opportunities for OB. I think it's economic pressures. You are in a business. You are a manager. If the
Hello,
business
sir.
is in boom, yes, sir.
Can I have one question? My name is Manish
Yes, sir.
Das.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
please. Actually, when in an organization, we heard terms like never bring your personal life in your professional life or something like that. Don't bring your professional life in personal life. But my point is it actually not possible? Whenever you have something in your personal life, it will affect your professional life and vice versa. So my point is how to confirm that minimum interference of professional life should be there in personal life or personal life should be there in professional life, and how OB can help in this regard.
Yes, sir. Actually, it's a complicated question. So now people talk about work-life balance, work-life conflict, work family conflict, family work conflict. We talk about balance and all. So the point is, if you are a manager, suppose your company, your department needs one mechanical engineer. So you advertise for that post. Probably the qualification should be, the applicant's qualification should be BE in mechanical engineering. Then you recruit a person who holds a BE in mechanical engineering. But when you recruit, when that person comes to your department, you are not getting just one BE mechanical engineering. He comes with the whole person. He has his own likes. He has his own dislikes. Probably he may have his own attitudes. For example, probably you may like one particular political party and you may follow its policies and strategies. That guy may like the opponent party. So he comes with that mindset. When you praise a particular politician, what will be his thought process? And when he praises another politician, what will be your thought process? So the point is, we should recognize that there is a whole person. Then probably, just to answer your question to some extent, the policies and practices, you have to issue guidelines.
Okay.
There must be, for example, if you go to Tata Group of companies, they have code of conduct for each level of employee. How, for example, how a supervisor should behave. So when you have details like this, probably to some extent you can avoid this problem. So how to improve ethical conduct? I think the last point is that improving ethical behavior. How to improve ethical behavior? So it all depends upon the policies and practices of the particular company. But since we are specializing in OB, we should not forget that whole person concept. Okay, let us come back to this. Thank you, sir, for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Let us take up these challenges and opportunities for OB. You have a business. Business is in boom stage. There is heavy demand. You produce more. You earn more. Huge profit. Employees produce more, so they obviously they get more. They are happy. You are happy. They are happy. Suppose a business is in recession. There is no demand. You don't produce. Employees don't work. So they don't earn enough money to meet their ends. You don't get profit. So stress, depression. You are depressed. You are stressed. But even then, every day you have to make decisions. Decisions may be critical. You may have to make critical decisions. So how to cope up with these pressures? Probably knowledge in OB will help you to tackle this kind of situations. Then globalization. Already we know, globalization refers to the integration of economies and societies through cross-border flow of goods, services, information, technology, people, money, capital, so on and so forth. Now you may have a question. So what? Probably, for example, if you are a manager in a company, in a multinational company, one fine morning you may be transferred to some other country, foreign assignment. You go to that country, probably you may experience culture shock. So there may be increased foreign assignments because of globalization, and there may be culture shock. So how to cope up with this situation? Sometimes, even within your own country, you may have to work with people from different cultures. How to adopt? It's really very difficult to work with people from different cultures because their needs are different, their aspirations are different, their expectations are different. You have to work. So how to cope up with the problems associated with globalization? Then workforce diversity. All of us know that workforce is becoming more and more heterogeneous in terms of age, gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, social groups, and so on and so forth. So how to work with people from different groups? Really a challenge. How to improve customer service? If you are a manager, then you should create a customer responsive culture in your department or in your organization. How to do that? Knowledge in OB will help you. Then people skills. People skills are nothing but interpersonal skills. How to understand people, how to work with people, how to motivate people, how to lead people, both individually and in groups. So interpersonal skills. OB, as I told you earlier, OB is much more concerned with developing interpersonal skills or simply people skills. How to work in network organizations. I think the picture at the top shows you a networked organization. Really very difficult to work in network organizations. People are physically separated and they are connected via ICT. If you're a manager, how to lead, how to motivate people who are at a distant place. Another challenge may be how to arrive at a consensus. Suppose there are six people in a group, and they have to make a group decision. How to arrive at a consensus? It will be very difficult. Very difficult to work in network organizations. It's a challenge. How to tackle that challenge? Knowledge in OB. The social media. I think now we are familiar with social media. Morning we wake up with Facebook, then we log into LinkedIn. Amount of social media. Employees access social media. Now the question is, to what extent you will allow your employees to access social media? I'm working in PSG at Krishnamal College for Women. I'm active in Facebook and LinkedIn, and also in blogger. I'm a blogger. So my question is, to what extent my college, my management will allow me to access Facebook, LinkedIn, blog, etc. Obviously, we should have policies. If you are a boss, then you should have policies relating to when employees can access social media, for what, how, policies. Then employee well-being at work. I think now employees are more concerned with well-being at work, work-life balance. Really very difficult. I think you all know now, because of this COVID-19, people are working from home. I think you know that number of domestic violence has increased after this lockdown. Am I right, sir? Have you come across that fact? When people started working from home, domestic violence increased. So how to arrive at a balance, work-life balance, how to tackle what family conflict or family work conflict. Probably knowledge in OB will help you. Positive work environment. How can we create a positive work environment? Now, probably your question may be, what is a positive work environment? Suppose you are a manager. You have your own deadlines, tension, competition. Competition is cutthroat. Now competition is intense and international. There is cutthroat competition. There is tension. In spite of all these, how to create a positive work environment? Actually, this particular concept has come from positive psychology. Already I told you, most of the concepts have come from psychology. In psychology, one famous psychologist called Martin Seligman, he revolted against what psychologists did at that time. Because in general, if you go to a psychologist, his first concern will be, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? He assumes that something is wrong with that person, and what is wrong with that person. So one Martin Seligman, he revolted against that. Why you always focus on what is wrong with the person? Why don't you focus on the strengths? People have their own strengths. Why don't you focus on those strengths? So that resulted in a movement called positive psychology. So now in psychology, we have one latest area called positive psychology. OB evolved from psychology. So we have organizational behavior, and in OB, we have one positive organizational behavior. Experts like Luthans contributed a lot to this positive organizational behavior. Employees have their own strengths. For example, hope, optimism, resilience. All these are strengths. How do you unlock these strengths? So how to create a positive work environment? This is again a major challenge for managers. If you specialize in OB, probably you will understand how to create a positive work environment. And last challenge in that list, actually, improving ethical behavior. How to improve ethical behavior? Any idea how companies improve ethical behavior? Can I get some answers?
By spirituality, sir.
No. Spirituality is the latest concept. Yes, sir. Now we are talking about how to create a spiritual culture, spirituality and all. For example, suppose your college. I think someone has some answers, right? Somebody is trying to say something.
Sir,
Okay.
sir, can I? Can
Yes,
I?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, yeah, please. Sure. First of all, the organization must have to go for institutionalization of their ethics. How they need to institutionalize ethics, that is the first thing they need to understand. So when I am talking about this ethical institutionalization, I am talking about say how top management is behaving, which way top management is fostering their ethical quotients and all, as well as side by side what types of culture they are imbibing in the organization, how they are showing their concern for that people, planet, and profit. That is what we are talking about, 3Ps. So all these things has an impact, and then side by side ethical training, imparting ethical training and all these things. Organization need to be vocal on all these issues, and then ethical whistleblowing can also be one of the aspect which an organization can think about. So those who are going for this kind of stuff, they should be promoted, they should be encouraged. So fostering all these things can be best help for an organization to come up with promoting ethics and other things in their activities.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So really, it will be a challenge. It will be a Paka challenge.
Yeah,
Suppose
that is true. Yeah.
suppose you invite a manager from a Tata group of companies to deliver a talk in your college, and that manager comes to your college. He delivers a talk. Once the talk is over, you try to present him a gift. In most cases, the manager will not accept that gift. Now, how you feel? Why? Why he is not accepting a gift from our college? The reason is very simple, because they have a code of conduct in Tata Group of companies. Managers are not supposed to accept gifts. Okay, now you may have a doubt. Okay, they are not supposed to accept gift, but for example, I come from Coimbatore. Coimbatore people are known for their hospitality, and we will not allow our guests to go empty-handed. So we force that manager to take that gift. If we force them, he will take it. But next day, what he will do, he will take that gift to his boss in the company, and he will hand over that gift. Like this, gifts are collected, and periodically the gifts are auctioned. They will send gifts for auction. So the net outcome of an auction is money. What do they do with that money? That money goes to charities. I think you all know about Tata Charities. So this is how Tata Group of companies improve the ethical behavior of. This is just one part. Accepting gifts is a part of this ethical behavior. So you should have a code of conduct, guidelines for everything to improve ethical behavior. We may organize seminars, we may organize conferences. So improving ethical behavior is really challenge. So these are some of the other challenges, but these are some of the challenges, and these challenges provide opportunities for you to use your knowledge in OB. So what do? We still have time left out. So what we do, already we know in OB there are 3 areas. We start with individuals, then we enter into group behavior, then at the end we take up organizational behavior, that is structure, culture, change and development. So we enter into individual behavior. Just because next session madam will talk about individual behavior. So let us start with that. An organization, basically an organization is composed of individuals. So let us start with individual behavior. Already I told you, in individual behavior, we are more concerned with how personality of an individual affects his behavior, how perception affects, how learning affects, how attitudes affect behavior, how values affect behavior. So all these we are going to study under individual behavior. But before that, I think it is always better to start with this. How organizations looked at individuals. Evolution in the ways organizations are looked at their employees. In the good old days, managers or people believed that everyone is the same. Later, after a period of time, they realized that there are differences. And now, what we know is that differences are good. So that is why now we encourage diversity. So this we should remember. There are differences, and differences are good. I think we should understand this before we get into the details from next session onwards. You must remember this. individual behavior model, an individual's behavior and performance is affected by 4 major categories of variables: environmental factors, organizational factors, personal factors, and psychological factors. Let us start with environmental factors. For example, economic factors. Economic factors include, for example, employment opportunities, wage rates, technological changes. All these are economic factors. So obviously economic factors will affect an individual's behavior. Suppose Krishnan is one of your employees. Krishnan is an employee of your company. Krishnan's behavior will be influenced by environmental factors. We started with economic factors. For example, employment opportunities in general, wage rates in general, technological changes, what is happening with regard to technology, your particular industry. These factors will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. And social norms. Each society has its own norms, social norms. We have our own social norms. And culture. In each culture, people learn certain values. These values will have an impact on your behavior, on Krishnan's behavior in this case. So social norms and cultural values will affect Krishnan's behavior. Political factors. Political, maybe the political parties, the philosophy, the government, and the political environment. In general, when you talk about political environment, I think you include legislature, executive, and judiciary. Obviously, these will have an impact on an individual's behavior. So what we should remember is, Krishnan is one of your employees. There is an environment, there are environmental factors, and these factors will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. That we should remember. Then we enter into the organization. In your organization, there are a number of factors that will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. For example, physical facilities. Physical facilities that you provide definitely will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. Suppose right from morning till evening, Krishnan has to work under hot sun. He will behave in a particular manner. Suppose you provide him with a air cooler. He will behave in a different manner. Physical facilities, it includes equipments also, working conditions, the temperature, crowding, lighting, ventilation, water and other facilities, equipments, all this. Then organization structure. Organization structure refers to the pattern of formal relationships within an organization. Definitely that relationship, formal relationship, that will have an impact on an employee's behavior, in this case, Krishnan's behavior. Then organization culture, what kind of culture you have in your organization. Culture will take up at the end. In simple, if you want a simple explanation, then I can say the way we do things here, the shared values and assumptions within an organization, that is organization culture. So naturally, the values and assumptions shared within an organization will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. Leadership. We know leaders will have an impact on, because they influence people. Leadership is the ability to influence people. So definitely that influence will have an impact on behavior. Then reward system, that will have an impact. We can understand this concept. Rewards that Krishnan gets definitely will have an impact on Krishnan's behavior. Then age, under personal factors, you take Krishnan. You look at Krishnan. What is his age? Definitely his age group. Suppose Suppose Krishnan is in 20 to 30 age group, he will behave in a particular manner. If the same Krishnan is in 50 to 60 age group, he will behave in a different manner. You know the changes associated with aging. We are more concerned with productivity. We are more concerned with absenteeism, turnover, satisfaction. Definitely, there will be changes in productivity, changes in absenteeism, turnover, differences. I mean, differences in productivity, differences in absenteeism, differences in turnover, differences in satisfaction level across age groups. Gender. Do men and women behave differently? Yes, there may be differences. So research studies have come up with number of conclusions. Some researchers say there are no differences in, for example, analytical ability, in competitive drive between men and women. Then education. Suppose Krishnan has completed BBA. How he will behave? Just think about him. Krishnan is a BBA graduate. Suppose Krishnan is an MBA. How he will behave? So definitely there will be differences. When a person is highly educated, naturally there will be some changes, expectations, aspirations go up. And abilities, a very important variable. If I am able to do my job, I behave in a particular manner. If I lack ability to perform my job, probably I will behave in a different manner. Marital status, married people, unmarried people, there may be differences in their behavior, but we are more concerned with productivity, absenteeism, turnover, and satisfaction level. The number of dependents. Just think about how number of dependents will affect an individual's behavior. Just think about it. For example, Krishnan is one of your employees and you are paying him 15,000 rupees per month, 15,000 per month. Krishnan has 2 children. Just think about his behavior. Then think about another individual, another employee, Raman. You are paying Raman 15,000 rupees and Raman has 7 children. My question is, will there be differences in their behavior or not? Behavior, we are, again I repeat, we are more concerned with productivity, absenteeism, turnover. Turnover means employees leaving a company, an organization, and satisfaction level. Obviously, there will be differences. So these are some of the personal factors which will have an impact on an individual's behavior. Then finally, we come to the psychological factors. Actually, in OB, we are more concerned with these psychological factors. For example, personality, how personality will have an impact on an individual's behavior. We are going to take up in detail how an individual's perception will have an impact on an individual's behavior. How an individual's attitude will affect his or her behavior. How values, already you have your own attitudes and you know attitudes. Values are basic convictions about what is right, good, or desirable. So you have your own values, and these values will have an impact on your behavior. Learning, how you learn. Your learning will have an impact on your behavior. So an individual's behavior, we should remember all these variables. There are environmental factors, there are organizational factors, there are personal factors, and there are psychological factors which will affect that person's behavior. Then diversity. Actually, before we take up topics in OB, I think we should understand this concept. Already I told you individuals differ. There is diversity. There are two types of diversity. One is surface level diversity. The other one is deep level diversity. Now the question, what is surface level diversity? You look at these photographs. The first photo, what is the difference? These two are employees working in a company. What's the difference? Can somebody answer?
Experienced.
Okay, but just when you look at initially at a superficial level, when you look
Gender
at the
difference.
photograph, pardon sir?
Gender difference, sir.
No, first
Not-
photograph,
Acha.
first one.
It is not gender, it is seniority, it is experienced person.
Okay, but but what I expected was age.
Age, that is, yeah,
Age
Age.
differentiation.
age difference.
Because I think, madam, you have made an assumption that the older person has more, the older person is experienced than the younger one. But we do not know for sure. But we know that there is a difference in their age. Just by looking at this,
Age difference.
we understand the difference. They are different in terms of age.
Yeah.
Second photograph, gender. Just by a look, you can come to the conclusion that they are different.
Yeah.
One person is a lady, the other one is a male. So male, female. There is a difference. Then you look at the third photograph, you can find people from different races. So just by a look, you can identify that there are differences. So it's very easy. It is very easy to identify certain differences among people in terms of age, gender, race, ethnicity, etc. I think sometimes people confuse race and ethnicity. Just to simplify the concept, I usually explain like this. Race is something connected with someone's biology. Ethnicity is something connected with someone's culture. Just remember like that. Race, something connected with someone's biology, the heritage. Ethnicity, something connected with culture. So a look at these probably will help you to identify differences. It's very easy. So we call it surface level diversity. My concern is, suppose there are two boys. There are two boys. Can you say they are very much similar? Can you say like that? Both the boys are in the age group 20 to 25. Will they behave in a similar fashion? I think someone can try. There are two boys in the age group 20 to 25. The question is, can you expect them to behave in a similar fashion?
No.
So the point is, they do not differ in terms of age, gender, race, or ethnicity. They belong to the same group, but even then, they may differ in their behavior. Why? The question, why they behave differently? Because the reason may be their personality. But we cannot understand someone's personality just by a look. It will take time to understand someone's personality. So personality and values, they are called deep level diversity. For example, in this picture, you find two girls in the same age group. The first one is a type A personality. The second one is a type B personality. I think probably you may know. We classify personality into two types, type A and type B. We are going to study in detail later, I think tomorrow morning, first session. What are the characteristics of type A? Time urgency, achievement orientation, competitive drive, impatience. Actually, two cardiologists, I think in Chicago cardiologists, Rosenman and Friedman, they only defined type A. They said type A people are aggressively involved in a chronic, incessant struggle to achieve more and more in less and less time. Just look at the words. They are aggressively involved in a chronic, incessant struggle to achieve more and more in less and less time. Type A personality. So they want to achieve more. They are highly competitive. They are impatient when things get slowed down. The absence of these characteristics is defined as type B personality. So, though these two girls are in the same age group, they differ in their behavior because of their personality. Personality and values are categorized under deep level diversity. So when we try to understand individual behavior, we should understand these concepts. There is diversity. There are two types of diversity, surface level diversity and deep level diversity. Age, gender, race, ethnicity, etc. Demographic characteristics. Very easy to identify. They come under surface level diversity. Personality and values come under deep level diversity. This is what you should remember when we enter into individual behavior. Probably next session Madam will talk about attitudes, emotions, etc. So just remember this. And doubts and queries. I think since it is after lunch, you don't have doubts. Huh? Doubts relating to OB or doubts relating to FDP, any query, anything connected with this FDP.
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
I'm Dr. Ambikai from Manipal Academy of Higher Education.
madam.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. Great
Thank
opportunity to from an expert like you. So my query is now organizational behavior. Whatever we saw so far is in the traditional context. Now looking COVID as a major issue, and most of the people have taken up work from home as one of their major work culture. And maybe in future, work from home may be a more preferred workplace environment also. So what is your opinion in that scenario? How organizational behavior, the concept is going to have a impact among the employees as an individual, as a group, as someone who is being influenced by the organizational structure?
Yes, madam. Actually, just to answer your question, I think probably I should go to what will be the future of work.
Yes,
Future
exactly.
of its
Yes,
work itself.
exactly.
So now, slowly, gig economy is evolving. I think you are familiar with gig economy, GIG, gig
Yes, sir.
economy.
Yes, yes.
So this probably this COVID-19 has given an opportunity to a number of people who have lost their jobs to become freelancers.
Yes.
So that is gig economy emerges like that.
Mm.
So slowly things will change. Interestingly, as I already told you, the domestic violence increased after people started working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I ask for the third tea or coffee, my wife starts scolding and I get irritated.
Okay.
If I'm in the college, any number of times I can take tea. In fact, in our JRG School of Management Studies, we have our own pantry where faculty, we prepare our own tea and coffee and we take. At any time just we enter in, we prepare our coffee or tea, whatever we want. So I think you know the variations, right? Little bit
Yeah.
sugar, add some more
No,
tea.
I know about. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Please continue. No, I'm a proud alumni of GRG.
Excellent, madam.
So
I'm very
So
happy to hear that.
thank you. So I do agree that the family influence is more in the working culture when it comes as more of work from home. So our
Yes,
mood
ma'am.
swings. Okay.
Actually, initially productivity increased when lockdown was enforced. Initially, companies said there was an increase in productivity because people are working from home. Then later, there are some studies which indicate that productivity has declined. In which industry, which company, there may be differences. But yes, sir. I think somebody wants to tell something. Yes, sir.
Exactly, sir. What you are saying is correct.
Yes, sir. Now people feel bored. It's really very difficult to adjust to work from my home. I want to go back to the college, but in fact, I'm afraid of COVID-19.
Okay. No, I do agree. Now a situation is demanding. I want to go to office. I'm missing my office. I'm missing my office chat. But there are certain articles which made us to think that companies started thinking of why to invest so much on a office premises, why to invest so much on a separate workspace. So this is how it's
now that is their thought process. They need not invest in electricity.
Yes.
So they save a lot. And some companies believe that the productivity has increased They're saving a lot. So let them work from home. I think already we know some IT companies have announced that even after COVID-19, some 78% of the employees will permanently work from home. I don't know. I don't know how those. I don't know how those employees react to that, but famous companies have announced like that.
Mhm.
So I think there will be chaos. Gig economy will evolve. People will become independent contractors, freelancers, and you take up projects. So there will be chaos.
Okay.
So in that kind of a situation, we are talking about organizational behavior.